Hey there, everybody. How you doing? Peace, 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 and power and elevation. This your girl Tiffany here, live in effect. Tonight, I'm going to be going into the history about the Atlanta Washerwomen protests. So, the protest took place around 1881 in Atlanta, Georgia, where 20 or 30 plus women came together. They were washerwomen, and for those of you that don't know what washer women are, they were women that was washing clothes in the baskets, like in the bucket. So they used to hand wash clothes. Okay. So they did domestic works. So they came together and protest against harsh harsh condition that was taking place during that time period. They demanded more wages, and they wanted to be able to have more control over the work environment. So that was the main purpose. But make sure you guys like and subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and I'm going to share the information with you guys. Let's go ahead and go to the source. All right, so the first source I am going to show you all, it comes from a website called newamerica.org. It's called the Atlanta Washerwomen Strike of 1881. All right, so it was written by Josiah St. Julian. When you hear the words Black women and historical protest movements, what comes to mind? Many of us immediately think of Ida B. Wells' journalism, Rosa Parks' Bus Ride, young Ruby Bridges' Lonely Walk to School, or Fannie Lou Hamer's speech delivered at 1964 Democratic National Convention, right? But how many of us think of Matilda Crawford, Sally Bell, Carrie Jones, Dora Jones, Ophelia Turner, or Sarah A. Collier? These 6 women were arrested and tried and fined for their involvement in the Atlanta Washerwomen Strike, a protest movement that many have never heard about. In the summer of 1881, 20 women gathered together to form the Washing Society. Frustrated by meager wages and poor treatment, they initiated a strike on July 19th to demand higher pay for their labor as laundry workers. By the third week, membership had exploded exponentially, totaling 3,000 individuals. The strike captured the attention of an entire city, and yet today we know so little about it. The Gender, Work, and Social Policy Pioneers in Black History series exists to spotlight historical moments like this one, which often lack attention. Thanks to historian T. Ross Hunter's book, To Joy My Freedom, we have access to research and a few existing primary documents that will help us better understand who the washerwomen were, how they rallied support, and the outcomes of the strike. The washerwomen's fight for dignified work remind us that when we build power through unity and recognize the value in tenacious persistence, we can accomplish daunting feats and inspire others to do the same. Then it goes on to say the remarkable success of the Washerwomen Strikes quickly sinks in when we remember that the black women engaged in this fight were not far removed from the harrowing realities of slavery. The 13th Amendment had only been ratified less than 2 decades earlier in 1865. In 1877, the progressive era of Reconstruction and its promises of political and economic opportunity had ended, and by 1881, the brutality, violent legal system of black codes had taken its place. Imagine the bravery and conviction of these 3,000 women. In such a hostile environment, they dared to demand better pay and refused to endure work conditions reminiscent of bondage. Now let's talk about it for a moment. So these women, they were fighting to receive an equal amount of pay. All right, so the work they were doing was domesticated work. And they said, you know what? Slavery been over with. All right. The bill was passed in 1865. Why are we still under harsh condition? Why are we still being mistreated? We deserve better than this. Now, earlier today, I learned something new. I learned that after the Reconstruction era, that black women were forced to labor and they had to do domesticated roles. They were forced to labor. They were not allowed to be housewives. In certain states, it was outlawed. Now, if these women have to go outside of their homes, leave their children behind to go work for somebody else, and they're not making enough money to bring the income home to the family, then what's going to motivate them to work? They just can't walk away, so they had to do something. They had to put up a fight and protest to get the income they needed. Now, people are going to ask, well, why did the women join the feminist movement? This is one of the reasons why they joined the feminist movement. Okay? And no matter how much you may disagree with it, but they joined it because they felt like, well, this is the only opportunity that we have to be liberated, to get better rights as women, to be recognized for our humanity. And that's what all these women want to fight for. They never joined no movement like the feminist movement, but they organized their own union, which is the what's it called again? Let me go back and check because I don't want to get it wrong. It's called the Washing Society. They organized their own union, Washing Society, to focus on the rights. And the purpose of having a union is to focus on workers' rights. Again, the purpose of having a union is to focus on workers' rights. It's to protect the workers. Nowadays, you live in a state that is called a right to work state. So right to work state means that there is no union required. An employee at will means that you are an employee at risk and you can get fired at any given time. And the employer or manager don't have to give you a reason why they fire you. They can just let you go. So nowadays, you have to fight for a union because companies are not offering union, and if they do, you have to pay a union fee. But you have to fight to get unions a part of the establishment, and that's going to be very challenging and tough to do. But that's one of the reasons why unions exist, because they're there to protect the employees' rights. So let's continue on. All right, so let's go down. During the 19th century, black women in the South had few employment options. From the 1860s to the 1870s, African American men and women saw opportunities beyond sharecropping and migrated from rural areas to burgeoning cities like Atlanta. There, women found employment in white households as maids, cooks, servants, or they worked as laundresses. Of these options, laundry work promised the most autonomy. Washerwomen worked according to their own schedules and in their own space. A typical worker started the week by picking up dirty loads from the homes of white families. Over the course of several days, they cleaned the garments, returning the clean products before Sunday. Often, washerwomen worked from the comfort of their own homes, but for all the work they did, they only earned an absurdly paltry sum of $4 to $8 a month. $4 and $8 a month is not something that you can survive off of during that time period. So the people that was working, these women, they were poor women. Now, let's talk about something interesting. There was a young man that I saw on TikTok, and he said something that was very thought provoking. So he spoke about he normally talk about Georgia, the South, but he talked about Georgia. And he said a lot of the people that are Atlanta natives, right? They're not really Atlanta natives. Let me break down what he mean. Not that you was not born in Atlanta, because if you born somewhere, that makes you a native. But as far as your family background, they come from elsewhere. So what he was saying, that a lot of our people came from the rural towns and they moved into the city for better opportunities. So he spoke on about the accent, like how we say certain words, vocabulary. We did not pick up the accent based on the fact that it's Atlanta, but based on the fact that it came from those who came from the rural towns. Okay? So these people that came from different part of Georgia, right? Little small towns, or even from other part of the southern states, when they moved into Atlanta, right? Their accent, their dialect, all of that blended in to create the ATL accent. So I thought that was something very interesting. So he's technically saying that your roots did not start in the city. Your roots started in the rural towns. And to add on to that, before your ancestors were brought into those rural towns or brought into the city, right? Or in North America, period, they came from the Caribbeans. And there are those that came directly from the continent, Central West Africa. So we carry on a certain dialect not only from those who came from the small towns, but those who came from the Caribbean islands, and also those who came from Central West Africa. And I just thought that was a very interesting statement that was made. Let me go ahead and let me get the rest of this out the way. So the wages paid to washerwomen were not commensurate with the strenuous labor they undertook. Hauling water, scrubbing for countless hours, lifting heavy irons, and carrying large loads, all while managing personal household chores, took a toll on the body. Washerwomen had the added responsibility of making their own supplies. A mix of lye, starch, and wheat bran gave rise to soap in a beer barrel cut in half, worked as a tub. Pump water, haul it to a basin, scrub garments, hanging clothes to dry, iron, deliver freshly, clean laundry, receive an average of $1 a week, repeat. This was the life of a laundry worker. Mm, 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 mm. But in July of 1881, 20 laundresses decided they had enough. Resolved to call for change, they created the Washing Society of Atlanta and decided to strike on July 19th in pursuit of higher wages. According to the Atlanta Constitution, a local newspaper which covered the protests, the women sought to establish a uniform rate of $1 for every dozen pounds of wash. Though observers initially underestimated the strength of the strike and dismissed the proposed wages as unrealistic, the movement proved successful. Thanks to the coalition building strategies employed by the laundry workers, it grew exponentially in size. Moreover, it compelled customers to pay attention to demands for better pay and ultimately inspired a wave of protests among other black domestic and low wage workers. As explained by Hunter, the Washington women's strategic employment of grassroots tactics allowed them to generate the powerful momentum needed for collective action. On July 21st, the local newspaper reported that the striking washerwomen added new members every single day. Workers knocked on the doors of those who had not yet joined the movement and held nightly rallies that boasted impressive turnout. To energize the crowd, they gave speeches, talked about their rights, and held prayer meetings. The main message was that of persistence. In 3 weeks' time, a meeting initiated by 20 women swelled to a movement supported by 3,000. Very quickly, it caught the attention of their white consumer base. As anticipated, the strike created waves of frustration amongst customers and local officials. A July 26th article released by the paper noted that the Washerwomen Strike is assuming vast proportions and despite the apparent independence of the white people, is causing quite an inconvenience among our citizens. This came only days after the newspaper opined that the laundresses were demanding unreasonably high prices. Quickly, the strike put pressure on white consumers throughout its duration. People obviously still wore clothes, and those garments obviously still needed washing. But there was no one to do it. The work was so unbearably back-breaking that white women, regardless of their family's social economic status, preferred not to do their own laundry if they could afford to pay for services. Consequently, white households depend on black laundry workers grew frustrated with their smelly clothes and the wet piles of laundry which were dropped off by workers who joined the strike in mid-watch. So by July 26th, just 1 week into the strike, some white customer conceded to the demands for a $1 wage. Others sent their laundry to neighboring cities. By August, the city council had threatened the movement with a $25 license fee. But when the washerwomen openly expressed their willingness to incur the costs, the council eventually dropped the topic altogether. In the face of arrests, lost wages, financial penalties, the strikers demonstrated tenaciously persistence, which ultimately paid off. The outcome of the Washerwomen Strike was threefold. First, it established Black women's incredible capacity to mobilize en masse using grassroots strategies. Second, it interrupted businesses as usual, leading to media attention, changing changes in consumer behavior and higher wages. And it finally encouraged other Black workers to seek improved condition and pay. Maids, cook, hotel workers, and nurses began pressuring their employers for better wages. Today, both the legacy of Washerwomen Strike and its commitment to dignified work live on through the work of organizations like the National Domestic Work Alliance and the Fight for $15. Both seek to improve the working condition of and lives of workers. These organizations call for job protection, employee benefits, and healthier work. If washerwomen of 1881 could send a message of encouragement from the past, it would be this. Remember that there is strength in unity and power in persistence. All right? You know, in a capitalist society, it's not always enough to just go to work and just take home a paycheck, right? You know, under the capitalist system, there's going to have to be a fight. There's going to have to be a strike and protest just to demand better pay. And we have to look at the situation right now with the government shutdown. It hinders federal workers big time because they're not receiving any form of pay. So when the government is going through the process of shutdown, those federal workers are not going to receive income. So it depends on how long it lasts. If it lasts 30 days, it could last 60 days, or it could last up to 90 days. Those workers, their pockets are affected. And the sad part about it is they still have to come to work and just do their normal routine. So basically, they're working for free. And then once the shutdown is over with, right, and everything go back to its routine with the government, then they can get back pay. They can get back pay. But outside of that, those pockets are hurting. So I want to also say this. Things like this will cause people to become discouraged. So things like this cause people to become discouraged. It causes people to not want to even work for corporate America. That's why folks turn to the life of doing illegal activities as an extra means of income. Because why would I want to work for corporate America or be in the workforce and there's a possibility of a government shutdown? There's a possibility of being laid off. Why? Why would I want to go through that process? And that's how people be feeling at times. People feel like it's not worth working in the workforce when you're not getting paid. And let me tell you something else. It's a lot of dirty business in corporate America than it is on the streets. It's a lot of dirty business in corporate America in the workforce than it is on the street. So what I'm saying is people get away with doing a lot of dirty stuff inside of these jobs in these companies, and not much can be done about it. So let's say an individual file a lawsuit. It will take them years to get the lawsuit, right? Or let's just say this person was fired for unnecessary reason. And no matter how much that person can try to prove that they're innocent and they have not committed any wrongdoing, but because of the type of society we live in and the type of laws that gives power to those that have businesses, right? You know, those who run in companies, the type of power that companies have, it can make it challenging for individuals to be able to stay on a job long enough. So a lot of dirty things happen behind closed doors. A lot of dirty things happen behind closed doors. So you have the nepotism, you have the cronyism. Nepotism means that favoritism shown to individuals who are family members, they get jobs. And cronyism is those who are like friends, associates, or former co-workers that's able to get into the job fields, right? So anytime you go to these work establishments, you're gonna find a lot of that favoritism taking place. The manager is gonna always has his or her favorites, and those individuals gonna get treated with the utmost respect. They're gonna get the they're gonna get a lot of pass until they mess around and do something that screw them over. And when you screw somebody over, then they gotta let you go. Because they feel like this, well, I'm not gonna risk my job for you. So it's a lot of dirty business in corporate America. It's a lot of dirty business in the workforce. Because companies can get away with doing so much. The people that's in the higher ups get away with doing a lot of shit. Whereas if you try to do certain stuff on the streets, you're going to pay the ultimate price. You won't be able to get away with doing a lot. Especially when it comes down to money, you can only get away with it for so long before things start to catch up with you. But I just want to end this video off by saying that history is very important. History plays a role in our lives. Yeah, it may be a thing of the past, but it's the reason why we are in the current situation. The reason why we have a present. So you guys can also check out some more links in my description box. So which is at the bottom of the video. So you guys can check out more links on the description box, which is at the bottom of the video. You know, look in there. There's like 3 links that's talking about this subject matter. So you guys can do that on your own time or whatnot if you want to learn more. But I want to thank you all for watching. And shout out to those of you that has been supporting my channel. I appreciate it a lot. And until next time, peace and power and elevation be to all of you. This your girl Tiffany. And I'm logging off. And you all have a wonderful evening. Peace.